Welcome, ladies and gents. Chris Andre here. You can find me at BetBoxing on Twitter for boxing-related tweets. Let's talk Josh Warrington and Mauricio Lara. But before we do, a couple of you have mentioned the sound in the last video. I promise you I have one of the best microphones you can get for this type of thing. It's just that it's a newly decorated room. It's still a little bit bare, and so there's a bit of an echo. So hopefully that will be resolved over the next couple of videos when we fill up the room a little bit. So please bear with me. I hope it's not too annoying. In terms of this fight, you know, the majority of people, when they're talking about boxing, they use phrases like styles make fights, but they don't believe them. I've said this before. The majority of people believe in levels, and you can test this on your friends. Go tell them that one of the guys that they consider to be one of the pound for pound kings would lose to a much lesser fighter in his weight category. They'll laugh in your face. Go tell them Canelo will lose to whoever, or Fury, or AJ, or whoever. They'll laugh at you. They'll say, no way, no way. Because the majority of people don't believe in styles. They believe in levels. Now, levels play a massive role. If you're a 6 out of 10 fighter, 7 out of 10 fighter, and you're fighting a 9 or 9.5 out of 10 fighter, and you have a style that's all wrong for him, you're going to lose the fight. He's just too good. The gap's too big. He'll adapt. But if you're closer, if you're a 7.5 out of 10 or an 8 out of 10 fighter, and he's a 9 out of 10 fighter, and you're all wrong for him, that gap can close, and that's when upsets can happen. Now, G-Man Boxing just did a brilliant video, you can check it out, on King Richard the Lionheart, and he uses the analogy there of the ant slaying the king. I won't give too much away, but check it out. It's essentially talking about how you can be of a lower level. You know, somebody could be up against formidable foes and will get the better of the opponent, and then they're up against a supposedly lesser foe, but he loses, right? That's another way of saying what I'm saying, that styles make fights, and it can be a style that is the thing that is your downfall. Now, Lara is all wrong for Josh Warrington, and let's talk about why. I used an analogy post-fight last time, which I'll use again, and then we'll get technical, and then I'll show some clips as well. Josh Warrington is essentially a storm. His punches aren't huge, in the same way that rain isn't really that destructive when it's a standard rainfall. Neither is a strong gust of wind. It's not that destructive, but when it's incessant and when it's frenetic, it can cause a lot of damage, and he is therefore a storm. And when he's up against a boxer puncher who is akin to a superbike, that superbike can look beautiful, can look brilliant when it's riding on an oceanside road, beautiful sunset, orange skies, it looks brilliant, zooming along, right? Freshly tarmacked road, it looks amazing. You get that bike up on a gravelly, uneven mountain road with a storm around it, and all of a sudden you're looking down worried about the cliff edge, right? This motorbike's not performing in the same way anymore, and that's why perhaps guys like Carl Frampton can have their work disrupted by the storm that is Josh Warrington. However, Mauricio Lara is more akin to a defender. Now, a defender is one of the, those Land Rover, those big, there's these big cars that are designed for off-road driving. Now, the new one's quite kitted out, it looks quite nice, but the old one was an eyesore, but it's capable of doing all these brilliant things that you want from an off-road vehicle. It doesn't care whether the road's icy or muddy or slushy or gravelly or whatever. It doesn't care what the weather's like. It's designed for that. It will adapt. Well, Mauricio Lara is that sort of rugged, powerful type fighter. It might not look pretty, but he's not intimidated by that storm. So what would Josh Warrington have to do to adapt to win this fight? We'll get to that. But what Warrington typically does is jump inside at mid-range and overwhelm you with fast hands and incessant pressure. And it can overwhelm that boxer puncher, that motorbike, that wants the space, that wants to be in control. When that control gets taken away from it, it doesn't perform in the same way. Well, Warrington, see, Lara, he has this limitation where he overloads, and I'm going to give you a little bit of a funny anecdote, which I'll never admit to my brother, right? Because sibling rivalry and all that, he doesn't watch all my videos, so we're all right. But my brother and I used to have this sort of competition about who hits harder. The truth be told, he's more effortless. Oh man, I've got to block him or something on YouTube. I can't let him see this, right? But he's more effortless, and I'll tell you what I mean by that. You know those punch bags that those games, those arcade games where you hit the bag and it tells you a score? You can see like pro fighters doing it. If you've gone to YouTube, you'll see it. You know what I'm talking about. It's like an arcade machine. You hit the bag and then it tells you the score of what you produced. There used to be one in Trocadero in central London, and we used to go down there. And not for this specific reason, but when we were in central, we'd go down there and we'd have a little competition. Sibling rivalry. We'd always get people gathering, and then it would be even more pressure to perform, right? Now, my punch range, my score range would be quite wide, and I'll tell you why in a second. His would be tighter. Like I said, he's a big puncher. He'd hit anywhere between 950 and 970. I could hit anywhere between 900 and 970, but the reason my range is so much bigger is because I would have to load up to get to sort of 960, 970, right? Typically, I'm around 940, 945, 950. And the best rivalry we ever had, I had 2 shots left, he had 1. And I hit 951, he hit 952, and then with my last shot, I hit 953. Like 1 point between the free strike, 2 points between the free strike. It was brilliant. And he had to buy dinner that day as well. We had a bet down. It was hilarious. But when I'm hitting it, I'm leaning through it, right? Whereby in a real fight, that's not, against a guy who's not a high-level fighter, you're probably going to land. They're still fast, hard punches, right? But against a guy that really knows what he's doing, he'll see you overload. And when you miss, one of 2 things is going to happen. You're either going to fall into him and potentially knock him off balance, Fury against Wilder style, where you break his construct, or you're just going to fall into him and he won't move and you'll end up smothering your own work. It's one of the problems that a lot of fighters have. They put almost too much into the shot, whereby their forward momentum takes them into the opponent and they can smother their own work. My brother isn't like that. The reason my brother's range is shorter is because if he misses, he's still got his construct and his balance where he could come straight back up with a left hook, had it been a real fight. So although we're competitive on that punch bag thing, the only reason we're competitive really is because I'm trying to lay this thing out of everything I've got, and he's more chilled with it. So he's the naturally bigger puncher, although I'd never admit that. Well, Lara is the sort of guy that overloads. If he's going to throw an uppercut and miss, that uppercut's coming all the way up there. If he's going to throw a hook and he's turning all the way where his shoulder blades are facing you. He's rugged but wild. What Warrington does is jump in the pocket, stay in the pocket without any lateral movement, and try and overwhelm him with punches from either side. Well, Lara in that situation is going to say, okay, let's have a shootout. You land, I'll land. You're faster handed. You don't overload like I do, so you're going to get off shots a lot quicker than I am, but I trust my chin. You land 2 or 3. You land 3 shots in each exchange. I'll land 1, maybe 2. Let's see who gets the better of it. You land 5 shots. I'm going to land 3. Let's see who gets the better of it. That's the mentality. So what Warrington really needs to do is not be there for that overloading. Now, Lara does something. Like I said, I'll show you clips of this. When he overloads, he makes quite an obvious coil. He'll dip into the shot and really come up with it. When that dip happens, there's one clip which I'll show where Warrington's on his toes. Very rare does he do this, and he just flicks out a jab. The jab doesn't really land properly, but he flicks it out. He then steps out, and Lara's nowhere near him. He couldn't counter that even if he wanted to. But then Warrington feints to come in, and Lara coils. And as Lara coils to throw the shot, Warrington covers up. Something that he likes to do. He'll either cover up, ready to throw with him. Why are you doing that? The minute you see him coil, step back out. Because he's either going to throw the punch and fall short and then you counter him, or he's going to have to reset, realizing you're out of range. Flick another jab. Constantly land that jab. Pop, pop. Stay on the outside. Now, does he have the skill set to do that? He did say after the last fight in his tweet, I should have boxed more. Now, that's given away potentially the game plan for this next fight, or certainly something that they would have considered. So Lara will consider having to cut off the ring and get in more effectively, having to chase Josh. That's going to be a potential that Lara's going to have to work on. Now, he's not that fast a foot. Could that be his undoing? Could Warrington maintain range? Well, one of the issues that he has, and again, I'll show you a clip about this, he sometimes comes out in a straight line, Josh, because it's not really his game. And Lara, in that regard, is able to chase him out and land shots on his way out. So there's going to have to be lateral movement. You're going to have to come off at an angle. Now, if you cannot do that, and it's just not your game, if you're going to stay in the pocket, you cannot stay at mid-range. You have to get very close to the point where you are affecting Lara's balance and construct. You have to take a page out of Ricky Hatton's book. Get hands-on. G-Man was speaking about Richard the Lionheart, and he gave the example of Richard being killed by an arrow. Well, I'm going to build on that example. If I've got a bow and arrow, for me to fire off the arrow, I need to pull back. I need to pull back that arrow on that bow and release it so it can fly. If you stop me from pulling my hand back, I'm not cocking. It's essentially preventing me from reloading my weapon. In other words, Lara, when he wants to come down and he's overloading, he's trying to bring that fist from the canvas. If you're on that side of him, okay, you get on the outside and you push him down, he's not going to be able to lift up to throw that. And again, I'll show you a little clip where Warrington has his hands on the shoulder of Lara after he pivots off to the side and rips a really hard body shot down the solar plexus. And Lara is affected by this. Twice this happens in the first round. And Lara is affected by it. And then Warrington makes the error of starting to stay in the pocket and starts to get eaten up and chewed up. And all of a sudden, everything's changed. Don't stay in the pocket and stand in front of him. Get right up close. Change the angle on him. Bump him. Keep him off balance. Use your shoulder into his chest, into his solar plexus. Get right up close. Use head control. Stop this guy from being able to fire at you. And if he is going to fire at you, you're going to have to mix it up. You can't always be inside. You can't always be outside. Make your movement unpredictable. Is he coming in to smother me and get right up close and manipulate my construct? Or is he running? I don't know what he's doing. Because if he's running and I chase him and then, you know, all of a sudden I thought he was running, but actually he's jumping inside and he's come up close and now he's controlling me and hitting me to the body. That's not what I want. If I think he's about to jump inside, but actually he's just flicked one jab to my face and stepped outside, well, now all of a sudden I can't get to him. You want that unpredictability. But when you're in the pocket, there has to be that rotation of movement so that you're not constantly in the same place. Because if the target is here when I load up, it takes a certain amount of time for me to bring the shot over to hit that target. So by the time I load up, if you've then moved, the target's gone. Now I need to reset and I'm out of position and I'm off balance. So let's show some of these clips that I'm talking about here. Look at this. As Warrington tries to throw the first combination, Lara comes low to load up. He was looking to come up with a hook or a shot to the body. So what does Warrington do? Straight away, look at the hands on the back of Lara's head. You see that? Now, he doesn't want to necessarily stay there, but he's controlling him. He's controlling the body of the opponent. Look at what he does. Pushes down, which you're not allowed to do, but let's face it, you get away with a lot. He didn't necessarily have to push down there. He could have just gone straight to the pivot, which wouldn't have been illegal. But what he does is use that head control to then pivot out to his own right hand side, and look at the space he's created through the center. You see that? Bang, hook to the body. Lara doesn't like it. Lara steps back. He's now not throwing, and Warrington's able to unload on him. This is the first few seconds of the fight. Let's see what goes on to happen. Jab there from Warrington. Now I want you to see that. Did you see that little thing just there? Lara comes down as though he's going to throw a hook, and what does Warrington do? There. Warrington doesn't step away backwards. He doesn't move to his own left-hand side. Instead, he stays and he covers up and he brings his elbows in together and protects his head. There. He's squatted. He's down. Lara now knows, okay, there's a pattern. There's a tell. If I'm going to load up big on this guy, he's not going to move. He's going to be there to be hit. That's an error from Josh. You don't want to be there to have to deal with what Lara's going to bring. Be gone. He needs to load up. Look there. When that range closes, because Warrington missed the jab, Lara then again cocks down to throw a hook. Now in this position, Warrington's great because look at the way he's tilted off to the side and he's covering the body with the bicep and the elbow, and he's covering his face with his right hand. But his left hand, look at where it is. He's controlling Lara. Now from here, bang. He reaches down, throws that hook to the body. Lara doesn't like it. It lands to the body. The referee, Lara complains that it's low. It's not low. He just didn't like the body shot. The referee tells Warrington not to pull down on the head. Yeah, you don't have to make it as obvious. As I said before, he could have pivoted out earlier. Even there, you're going to get away with these things. You're the home fighter. You're going to get away with these things, right? It might not be legal, but the reality is that this happens in the sport all the time. You can push his head off to the side. You don't always have to pull it down. You can push off at the shoulders, control the shoulders. You can put your arm on the bicep in the way that Lawrence Okolie did, as I did the breakdown video and I showed you in the preview to the Glavatsky fight, something he was doing with Wadi Camacho. The point is control the construct of your opponent. So in this one, you could see Josh is on his toes, right? and he's looking to maintain range, and he flashes this jab which misses, but you see how Lara coiled there ready to come back, but Josh was out of range. He wasn't there. That's the point. You don't want to be there. But then look how Josh changes his stance now. Now it's high guard. Now it's flat feet on the ground. Now he's saying, yeah, let's have a fight in the pocket. Why? Why are you doing this? Stylistically, this guy is not what you want to do that with. It's wrong to do that with him. But watch this. Watch what happens here. Watch how Josh could have potentially drawn a shot and then come back in. Or just drawn a shot and smothered Lara. Or drawn a shot and gotten completely out just to make him swing for no reason, right? You see him here. Watch the feint. There's Josh's feint. Lara wants to go for an over-the-top right hand. He wants to time him on his way in, but he realizes this guy has feinted me. So from there, he immediately jumps into an up jab. Why is Josh in a position where he can get caught? What happened there? Why is it? Let's rewatch that for a second. Here's the feint of Josh. There. Over the top right hand doesn't work. Why is he then in a position where he can get caught with that straight left? And now he stays in the pocket. Little lean back there. That's when he should have come back in with a shot. But the point is, if you're the one drawing the shot, you're not feinting for the sake of feinting. You're either feinting to keep an opponent guessing so you can set up shots later on, or you're feinting to draw him into shots. Don't feint and then stay within reach, within range. Especially in that scenario where Lara's having to leap into the shot. If you were just a little bit further out, or you'd stepped towards Lara's own right hand, you know the trajectory of that looping over the top right hand. You step just slightly on the outside of that, Lara's in trouble, because what's he going to do? If he leaps in and misses, he's a sitting duck. If he doesn't leap in and has to reset, he's a sitting duck. This is the last clip I'm going to show you now. You see how Josh stays constantly central in the pocket? Look at that. He's still right in front of him. Big left hook, big uppercut. He's still just there, and then he takes a little step back, pivot off to the side. That lateral movement, or go all the way in, like I said before, and try and control him, but you've been hit with big shots there, so I understand. But look, he's covering up, he's waiting. He's waiting, he's bracing for impact. You don't want to do that. You don't want to do that against a guy like Lara. Rather than block and absorb, you want to evade. That's got to be the task. Whether you evade back in and out, or side to side, that unpredictability is going to help you. And you decide when you come in and you dictate affecting his construct. So the question is, can Josh Warrington adapt in this way? Can he do some things that he's not done before? Can he get on the back foot and be an in and out fighter? Can he fight like Ricky Hatton if he's going to stay inside that pocket and change laterally and wrestle the guy to affect his construct? Or are we going to see Josh Warrington try these things, but when things get tough, he'll revert to what he's always done because of muscle memory? And if so, I believe he gets stopped again. But everyone's writing Josh off. Based on these little tactical things, I wouldn't be stunned if Josh was to win this fight. Bear in mind, he got hurt quite early on in a fight where he didn't know what the opponent was offering, right? And his legs were clearly affected. So if you haven't got your legs, movement, it's gone straight out the window, right? The other thing, though, that not having legs affects is your ability to wrestle on the inside. Maybe he wasn't able to do what he did in the first few seconds of the first round to control his opponent. It's because his legs were gone after those big exchanges. That first big exchange where he got caught. Maybe he never recovered. And you know that Josh is a warrior. So he's not going to fold. He'll be there. But there's one more thing you need to consider as well. How much damage did he accrue in that first fight? Okay. That fight should have been stopped in round 4, in my opinion. They let him go on and he won round 5, and that led to the fight continuing. And what round was it stopped in the end? 9 or whatever? Because from the 6th onwards, he started to get battered again. Has that going to take anything? Would that have taken anything out of Josh Warrington going forward? Let me know what you think, everyone. How you predict the fight will go. I think it's going to be a humdinger. I think Josh will do a lot better than he did in the first fight. But it's a fight that can go either way. But if Josh is going to win it, he's going to have to adapt in a manner that he's not done before and maintain that discipline. Maintain that discipline is key. Because you might have success, but you're going to have some scary moments in there. Are you going to be able to revert back to that plan and see the fight out? Let me know what you think, everybody. Thanks for watching. Chat to you soon. Take care. God bless.